Hey, everybody out there in Same Dad Podcast land. It's been a little bit of a hiatus for us here, but we're back again, like tag team. We're back again. Gonna make some ice cream in your kitchen, and here we are for another great episode of Same Dad Podcast. I'm Jesse. This is my sister Kellie. How you doing today, Kellie?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a long time. I'm glad to be back and good to see you. Of course, we spoke recently, but haven't done this in a while. So let's see if we can get back into the groove.
Yeah, I'm. We were gonna do that. We had some family visit, but it's always tough to get Wi-Fi where you want it to be. So yeah, after just a few things going by, it's almost been a month already. So back in the saddle again with a few things to talk about, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. I saw that you were involved in a pretty cool deal with the Indianapolis Colts. I think last weekend.
Yeah, we had a unique opportunity to be part of what they call the crucial catch, intercept cancer, and we among 30 other cancer survivors were able to be part of the flag team that we held a flag onto the help me here. We were on the field, and basically during the national anthem, we were able to present the flag. Now, it was a special flag for the Crucial Catch initiative, but that was just one small piece of it. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you the value of being there for a good part of the day. We had to practice early on, believe it or not. We had to get there at 8:30, and we got to be like in the belly of Lucas Oil Stadium for at least 3.5, 4 hours until we were on. And we met a lot of incredible people. They fed us breakfast, and we got to meet other cancer survivors from East Central Indiana. And yeah, it was really a good day. It was a perfect day. They actually opened um, the roof, and they had it was like just the most gorgeous day. So anyway, everything about it was great. I got some pictures with Blue and some cheerleaders. I might pop up here later. Maybe I'll show them in the background. But it was a great day. I think better than what we expected. And Seth probably could tell you better about what he got from the day. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw the video of the players running out on the field.
And they were like, I mean, it didn't seem real, up close, they seemed pretty big. And it did seem like you're in kind of in the middle of a video game, but all of the fanfare, when they run out of the tunnel. And we had this guy, I think his name was Ryan, and some of the video that I posted, he was pretty well front and center. I think I got most of the video of the back of his head. Anyway, he was our guy to make sure that we were on South End. South End Hold was our station of the flag. And so the South End Hold people had to kind of step to the side during the introduction of the players. And then once that was finished and they began the national anthem, then we kind of got in line and held the flag. And, he was keeping us from being run over by the players. And one of the fellow participants looked over at Seth. They'd kind of developed struck up a friendship, and they were talking. He said, "Hey, what if I buy a Nerf football in the gift shop, and I cut right over here, and you throw me a dime?" And so they kind of teased about that, but he said, "Well, I don't know if I can throw you a dime, but maybe a quarter. You have to lay out for it and hit the pylon." But we were thinking about all the other things we could do out there besides hold that flag. But we did what we were asked to do, and it was a good time.
That's awesome. Yeah, them players are huge, ain't they?
Yeah, and it's and even not that the cheerleaders are big, but everything seemed like a cartoon, if you know what I mean. Like just everything from seeing a player close up with all of the pads. If you're not used to that, they truly do look like gladiators, which I've always thought, but they really do in real life. And then, then the cheerleaders are this other subset of superhumans in this way that are, they're a subset all of their own, unlike the majority of society. So they're kind of this kind of image, and then they had blue, and then I think they had some sort of small mascot in training. So it was like a little kid blue, which was cute. And probably one of the coolest things too was I did get a video of this. I just didn't post it. So, you want to hope that the crowds in some ways are clapping for the survivors, but they're excited to be at the game, and that's just part of the intro. But as we were walking out of the back into the tunnel off the field, just like when players walk off, and everybody around the opening kind of yells out or waves or high fives, we got a lot of thumbs up and a lot of claps and a lot of way to go. And, that was really priceless. We didn't expect that either.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it looked like a pretty neat experience. They won that day by quite a bit.
Resoundingly. It was like, what, 31-3 or something like that. It was a rout.
Yeah, maybe they'll start to turn things around a little bit. Sometimes their Colts have been notorious for being kind of hot and cold. Maybe now they got some of the loose edges sanded out, and they'll be pretty good. It just seems like once they string a couple of wins together, then they just keep on winning. So maybe that's the turning point there.
It was definitely a good vibe that day. Hopefully it was, I think everybody enjoyed it. I think part of it was just the weather too. And, something else Seth and I talked about after, not being among large crowds of people for a long time. And then you go to a big event like that, which, by the way, I will say it was very controlled in the sense that we had to submit our vaccination record or attest to the fact that we'd had a vaccine. And then you had to answer some questions, before the day of to make sure you weren't symptomatic. But you just really didn't see too many people wearing masks anymore. And so that we felt kind of like fish out of water. It was like, is this right? Was this a special invitation of only, it was just another world. So we were excited to be there. And it just had this profound effect on us because we were literally among people for the first time in a long time. Maybe that was it. Maybe it wasn't that special, but dang, the food was good. We even got really good swag. We got these really cool T-shirts and these like woolly hats, and they just really laid it out for us. So I'm glad we went. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. So, but I do want to talk a little bit about, I saw some pictures about you going to the zoo recently. So I love the zoo. Our family grew up loving zoos, and just, it's a great space for kids and families. So tell me about that.
In an alternate universe, we were at the Omaha Zoo, right over the Iowa-Nebraska border. There's Bellevue, Nebraska, and they got, I think if I'm spelling it right or saying it right, Henry Doyley.
I wouldn't know any better, so yeah, sounds good.
It's one of the best zoos in the country, if not the best. Like, they're always in like the top 3 or top 5, and that's really a crazy thing. It's enormous. Believe it or not, by looking at me, I'm not an athlete, nor do I have any cardio. But you gotta you gotta have some walking shoes and some Aleve or some kind of headache medicine, because it's huge. We went there on a Saturday night for a trick-or-treating event that they were doing, where the kids could dress up, and then they had candy stands and stuff at the zoo as you walk around in there, and go from stand to stand. And then it got dark, and then they turned on a bunch of like Halloween lights and decorations, and there were little walkthroughs you could do. And it was that night, it was freaking packed. Like, it was, I think half to all of Omaha took their kids to this Halloween night at the zoo. I mean, it was just, we waited in an enormous line just to get in there, and then we waited in another line basically throughout the whole experience, and then we waited in the dark in a huge line for what seemed like forever to get to this, like, they had a bunch of blow up decorations that were lit like kind of like lantern style, hundreds of different things, like ghosts and little spiders and goblins and stuff, kind of in this wooded path that you walk through. And the funny thing is I'm not a big holiday guy. I used to like Christmas when I was a kid, but I'd be okay if every day was Tuesday. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just kind of, you get to that point, and whether it's like a wedding, an anniversary, a birthday, a holiday, you always kind of reach that moment where you're like, God, why am I doing this? Like, there's always that, like, moment where your nerves are tested, and you're just like, this is insane. Like, I could just ruffle a few feathers easily, and this could be optional, but, like, here I am, and that night, the zoo itself, what we saw of it before it got dark was enjoyable, but ironically, the agitation didn't come from my family. It didn't come from other people's kids. It came from other adults that I didn't know. It was like where the agitation came from. We were in it's funny how, like, parents force their kids to do shit. Like, if none of them want to be there, why are they there? Just because it's Halloween. So there was a mom and a grandma yelling at this little girl because she didn't see an animal when they pointed it out. And I thought, I thought that's sickening. And
I hate that.
Yeah, it just makes you want to fucking throat punch them. And then we get
by God, you're gonna have a good time, and I said so.
Yeah, if your kid wants to be home, just take her home. Nobody gives a fuck, They're there, like, yelling at this little girl because she didn't see something, or it's like, man, come on. If you buy a ticket to the zoo and you feel like the money you paid, you have to, like, see every damn thing, or there's an obligation there, then you're in the wrong world, because most of the time those animals are asleep behind a bush anyway. And and then we're waiting in line to get to the blow up shit to walk through it, and there's this guy. I've been around a lot of dysfunctional families in the military. There's just a lot of them because the dad works 12 hours a day and gets fucked with by a squadron, and then for whatever reason, like, a lot of military wives are kind of strange anyway, and then they usually have like 2 or 3 kids, and there was like a dysfunctional bunch right behind us in line, all dressed like the Ghostbusters, and this one little boy. Eli has autism, so I can spot intellectual disabilities in a child. Like, I'm not a doctor, but I can tell when a child is bothered by something, or they have some kind of a developmental disability. And this poor little kid behind us, like, he was complaining about how loud the music was and a couple of other things, and he kind of had like a speech impediment and stuff. And his mom just kept laying into him about dragging him through all this crap, and then the dad was just ignorant. He was on his cell phone. He sounded like he should have dried on somebody's mattress. I mean, it was just terrible. Like, I just wanted to reach back and just kick the guts in on these people, because it was just horrible. Like, I'm an honest guy. The zoo held up, I guess, but the people that were there definitely did not that night. And but the second day we got up, went there on Sunday morning, and casually walked around and did what we could. The zoo is so big though that we only got maybe half of it in by like 2:30, and we still had to drive back, and we were all beat. I mean, the zoo there is so big, and I don't know if you remember Rosenblatt, the old baseball stadium where they played the College World Series for years.
Yeah. Yes.
They tore it down
Oh man.
and years ago, and they kept the diamond, the home plate, first, second, third, and the pitcher mound. They left it, and you can go in there and run the bases and stuff. It's like a shrine to it, but instead of putting a hotel, a zoo-themed hotel with maybe like a 2-day package or like some travel arrangement, they just made more parking. So like the body count in there is, so Saturday was rough, but Sunday was pretty cool. It wasn't too bad. We went there with a group of people. I ended up at that same zoo. They don't have the exhibit anymore, but I proposed to Nicole at that zoo years ago. I took her to the sports bar for some nachos and fried pickles, and then we went out to the zoo, and I think it was February or March. I made sure it was snowing, and then we went out there. They have the tiger exhibits. They had some Bengal tigers, some white ones, and then one of them had 3 legs. He had like 3 legs and a chicken wing. And I wanted to get out there in front of him, and I did everything word for word. If you watch Rocky 2, when he proposes to Adrian, I nailed it perfect, every bit of it, even from like the beginning where it's kind of subtle and she has her earmuffs on and he says it and she says what, and then he says it again, and the whole line. I got down on my knee, and the snow was coming down just like Rocky, and then I even yelled back, "Hey, Bengal Tiger," like he does, "come to the wedding," and just it was awesome. And she didn't know what that was from until later on. She saw it in the movie. You were at the wedding. We did Gonna Fly Now after we did our wedding vows, and we were walking back down the aisle. I wanted to do, there were 3 songs that I had to pick from. It was either going to be Real American Hero, Hulk Hogan's theme music, or it was going to be the WWE's version of Dusty Rhodes' theme music. The American Dream. Doo, 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 doo. Working hard with your hands. You know, this. It was either that or Rocky. Gonna Fly Now, and I went with Rocky to kind of. I remember coming out and I high fived somebody. I don't know who it was, but yeah, it was neat. That's what the tie-in was. So that zoo's always going to have like a sentimental thing, even if they got rid of that exhibit. But you know, it's always going to have that tie-in and that area. So, and you know, we went there for it was Nicole's birthday, so that's why we were there this time. And yeah, everything went pretty good. I felt bad because Iowa took their loss. Purdue beat them, and
Yeah, I
Nicole's
wasn't going to
dad,
mention it.
Nicole's dad is the biggest Hawkeyes fan on the earth, and then I'm a Purdue alum, so
Hmm.
so it's like, of course, like we go see the guy. That's who we're staying with, you know, and and Purdue just puts a beating on them. Like of all the teams, I don't very seldom root against Purdue, but I really didn't want that little fun stretch Iowa had going to come to an end, especially at the hands of Purdue while I'm there visiting, and
Yeah, you couldn't have scripted that any worse, I guess.
yeah, irony, right? That irony's real. Whatever your zeke or your religious thoughts are, I'll tell you, fact, irony's real. I don't know if there's any books written about it or if going to a building on a certain day of the week and make a difference, but irony is a fact. It happens repeatedly. So, and that was one of those cases, and yeah, so then we made it back, and we're here. The week kind of started going by kind of quick, and here it is, Wednesday already. So
Yeah, something I noticed about your stories when you go someplace, I mean, you must look and intend to look at every nook and cranny of the place, because I'm a one day in, one day out, one day in and out. I know examples being the Iowa Fair is huge, huge. So to go there multiple days, I'm sure makes all the sense. Um, but any place I've ever gone, even Kings Island, like, oh, we're going to go to the amusement park today, then we're going to go to the water park the next day. That was never me. I'm like, I'm going to get my fill today, and whatever I don't see, it wasn't meant to be. So I'm always intrigued, or I kind of marvel over your stories. I'm like, hell, he went back another day. And so, and the other thing that made me think, your story made me think about how, we do build up some expectations about where we've been and our memories, and we kind of, they get glorified over time as we talk about them. And, there's certain things about the zoo that was likely to disappoint. And the thing you can't control, of course, is the other spectators and people you have to walk among. But we had a similar experience. We took the family to Florida over this last couple of weeks. We just got back about a week ago, and we'd gone to the same spot where Seth and I had gone a month or so after his diagnosis with cancer. And so we went there to kind of regroup as we got ready for treatment. He had already had some surgeries that he was recovering from, and was about ready for treatment. So anyway, it seemed like a magical restorative place. We were really kind of gearing up for what was to come. And so we decided then and there we were going to bring the bulk of the family who could go back to this beautiful space. It was Anna Maria Island. We have a friend who has property there that we were able to fit the entire family in this one house, and I thought, oh, this will be perfect. Well, as we've already talked about before, no vacation is ever perfect. But we had that same sense of, it was like the honeymoon phase, and then you return And there were just some things that was like, oh, I don't remember this, or hey, that restaurant is closed now, or for that matter, everything seemed like it was twice as expensive. Of course, restaurants continuing to try to recover from the pandemic. And so some of that was a little bit annoying. So one thing I'd recommend if you go on vacations, if you haven't already figured this out, is, don't let anybody get too hungry before they need to make some, important decisions, whether it's, what the itinerary is going to be for the day. For that matter, one of the main itineraries, because let's face it, we had multi-generations with us. So about every 3 hours, what do we all want for dinner? Like, I don't know. I got some crackers and some beer in there. I'll probably snack on, and then I'll figure it out at 8:30, 9 o'clock. But that's not what you do when you're with a mixed group. And so that became, a little bit of really just something to work around. But if I'm honest, it was kind of like, I don't know, if one more person looks at me as if I'm the local caterer or the hospitality, I might have to go take a bike ride, which was cool because this place has everything you can imagine. It's a ready-made home with everything from bikes to beach chairs to umbrellas to the towels to the everything, a furnished kitchen, other than the food. Full, it's just a house ready made just to walk right in and start living in. So if you ever get a chance to do something like that, I would encourage you to try to find a house like that, whether it's Airbnb or Vrbo, or because it'd be hard for me to vacation in a hotel for that period of time without having such a home feel. So it was a great time, but nothing ever really stands up to your first time. Let's just face it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually the people, like just the crowd, people you don't know what they're going to do, but yeah, I mean it wasn't too bad. I don't know when I'll go back to the zoo. The older I get, I start more things are finding themselves on my 5-year plan.
Yeah, you mean like every 5 years,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
not again until 5 more? Yeah, I get it.
yeah, yeah.
I have a kid that's going to turn 21 here shortly.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think you got much to worry about though. I don't think she's gonna get in too much trouble or anything.
Well, I don't think she's going to do anything she hasn't already done in terms of whatever, however people celebrate for the 21st is probably just going to be more out loud and in public. So yeah, so that's been kind of the next big event here. But I know you're preparing for a birthday there. So is everything in place? You got all the goods ordered and the decorations and all that?
Me personally, I haven't done shit. my my lovely wife Nicole that's kind of her area. Yeah, she's been putting money into it for the last few months. Yeah, we've been using actually that 300 a month from the government for having a little kid. We've just been putting that. I mean, that's been funding all of his stuff. We just take it right out of our bank account and put it in a little one every month we have here in town, and she's been using that to budget and manage shit like toys or the party or school stuff, whatever's going on. We just to me that's not my money, so I leave it up to her to spend it on Eli however she sees fit. So that's kind of what we're using to fund the party. She's renting a building and everything, and having a bunch of people show up, and we're doing Harry Potter. That's the theme. I don't know anything about Harry Potter. I giggle.
Uh,
I giggle sometimes at the character names, and
Go ahead.
yeah, I
You're in
don't.
the same boat as I am. I don't
I,
understand the houses. Have you taken the quiz to know what house you're in?
I just know if the characters have a funny name, I start hunching the air and saying the character.
Give me one.
I don't even know.
Minus the hunching.
They got an owl named like Gaborkin or something. I don't know. And then that other thing with the ear, Gooby or something. They got that. They got that guy. I don't know them all. I don't know any of them. Harry Potter. He's the guy. The main I recognize him, and I don't know who else it is. Really, they got that. The bad guy looks like Nebraska's old football coach, old Bill Bellini, the wizard guy with the squish face.
I can't even tell you I know
Like,
who you're talking about.
I think he spends too much time sitting on his own wand. But yeah, I try, but there's like 8 movies, and I don't know. I mean, I'm the same way. I'll admit it. Being an '80s kid, I really don't know shit about Star Wars either. I probably should, but I know Yoda. I know that dude, and Jabba the Hutt, and Chewbacca. The main people, but I don't
Did
really
you
know.
say did you say Hugh Baca?
Chewbacca.
Oh yeah. I was like I would say that my household knows quite a bit about Star Wars. My son mostly, but I think after the first three, I kind of bailed out.
Yeah, I don't. I have trouble because the newer stuff is a prequel to the older stuff, and I'm kind of lost. So I never really did get in there. Yoda's funny, and then I see them memes and gifs of that baby Yoda. Those are kind of funny.
Mm.
He'd be holding the coffee and say, have like a funny little quote or something. Yeah.
Well, so yeah, they have these quizzes now, of course, which which Hogwarts house would you be in, and so you've got the Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Gryffindor, and the Slytherin. And the other day, the kids were in the car, and Graham was excited because Emma was home for a little fall break, and they're in the car, and they come upon a car with a sticker on the back that says I'm a Slytherin. And so Graham was like, well, all I know is that we're behind somebody who's a Slytherin, so that should be fine. Neither one of them know anything about Harry Potter. They didn't watch it, and I know for many that's blasphemous, and I apologize, Eli and Nicole, for not having the knowledge of Harry Potter like we should, but we just let that one go by us.
Yeah, well, I think whoever wrote that took a few snuffle huffs. But I can tell you every main event of every WrestleMania. I can tell you
Okay.
stories about Andre shitting on newspaper because he's too big to use a toilet, so he'd just roll out some newspaper and shit on it, and then he'd
Oh,
invite guys up to the room to surprise him with this big human mountain of shit. It's either that or he shits in a tub and stomps it down.
oh my God, Jess, I can't hardly imagine.
You ever had to stomp your own shit? I have.
Ever had to what?
Or stomp your kid's shit down the down the shower grate.
No,
Do the Lion King waffle stomp where you got the kid in the air under the spigot like Zumanji or whatever the fuck his name is was holding Simba in the air while Elton John sang. And then you got your back leg stomping his fucking moist shit into the drain.
Oh my God. No, but I think you might have. You combined Lion King reference with Jumanji. Is that what I heard?
I don't know. What was that baboon's name that was the sidekick of the lion?
I don't know. We suck. I don't know.
Zimbabwe or something. That's the one that they were on the edge of that cliff and Elton John was singing that song. Sounds like they're saying constipation or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? And then it's the circle of life.
Yes, I do. I know the Circle of Life and Simba. Simba.
Yeah. And then they started.
Yeah.
Yeah. They took. Remember that guy? Remember that guy for. You watched a lot of basketball. You might remember that dude from Louisville that had that compound fracture in that game. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Snapped and the bone come out about 6 inches on live TV.
I looked away. I didn't watch it.
Somebody made a meme. They put old Zimbabwe holding Simba on the tip of that guy's femur bone.
Oh my God. That's terrible. But that is funny. I don't know why.
The internet. Technology, yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah. If your intent is to like look away as much as possible, then that meme really zoomed in on it and like made it a focal point, which is crazy.
Yeah, I can't. Broken bones freak me out. I can handle about anything. I just can't do. It's just seeing like a broken bone is just not. Or just the thought that right now all your bones are wet in your body. They're just wet. You know what I mean? Like just weird shit like that is just crazy. Like structural shit. It makes me queasy.
Yeah. I've had some of that stuff on my mind only because I really am, I'm squeamish like that too, or I'm so visual that when I read a story about an accident or an injury, it's hard for me not to go a few steps farther and think about some details. So we did have a very tragic car accident here locally. There were 4 young men from Anderson High School. 2 at least were graduates, and I think 2 younger, and only 2 survived the crash. And it was a pretty horrific. If you know where, here's some not irony at all, but just a reference rather. It was on the same road on 8th Street going to Perkinsville, right in front of our Aunt Dixie's graveside. So it was on a pretty winding country road. There was really the fact that there are 2 survivors is pretty miraculous. And so not to bring this to a screeching halt in a serious moment, but, that's just how quickly, the body is done with a certain amount of trauma. And it's hard for me to think about because again, I'm kind of this visual person, but I know that things that happen quickly. So
yeah,
it gives me a little peace.
That freaks me out. I just think when I hear shit like that, I think of when I was their age. We'd pile in 5 or 6 in a Grand Am. I mean, not even like fit to be loaded down with that many dudes. My buddy Aaron was the first guy to get his driver's license. Him and Andy, because Aaron had that weird August birthday, I think, if I remember right. So he was like a bit older than the rest of us, and we'd get in his car and we'd always overfill it. None of us would have our seatbelts on. I mean, this was like the
Mm-hmm.
mid 90s, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we'd even throw a guy in the trunk if he wanted to ride bad enough, and just go wherever we were going, you know, to go to the thrift store to look at heavy metal music CDs, or to go get some Papa John's pizza. We had this. We had one of them discount cards. I don't know where Aaron got it at. Like a back in the day, you could pay like $20 and you'd get this weird fucking like thing that looked like a debit card, if you remember, and it'd have a list of restaurants on it. And
Yeah, we have one.
like, you'd get like key discounts, like based on like affiliation and paying for this card. And we'd use that card he had, and we'd get a big old stack of Papa John's sausage pizzas for next to nothing, and eat the hell out of those every weekend playing Nintendo 64. And but anyway, yeah, I remember unsafely as a passenger, just craziness. And then all the horseplay that would go on, you know, in the car,
Oh
throwing
God.
shit around, elbowing each other. One time, my buddy Tim, he put a plastic sack on my face and just punched me square in the fucking nose. Like blood flew everywhere. He just like reared back and just fucking socked me. I was pretty dizzy for a little bit, but I'd been hit harder. But yeah, it was crazy. Just dumb shit you do, you know. Or we'd get a bag of beanbag beans and tear them open while the guy's driving, and he'd be waist high in beanbag beans. This dumb shit, you know, stuff you just don't even think. You know, hell, he rolled the fucking car. We'd fly out everywhere. They'd find my torso in a cornfield, but it was important that I cover him in beanbag beans. It's just craziness, you know. When you're young, you just don't think about it. You just
And yet there's a period in your life when you think about it too much. I feel like the pendulum went back the other way, and I don't think it. And that may be a period of my life now, which is interesting, and I don't know why that would be, but there's a point where you're just totally oblivious to what the risks could be, and then there's a moment. Well, I didn't like to fly for a period of time in my 20s for whatever reason. It was like my first realization that I wasn't in control of any of that, and I really needed to be. And since I couldn't be, then flying was really unnerving. I still did it, but I hated it. Now I don't feel that way. But there are certain things, traveling and cars, when I'm the passenger, I'm more uncomfortable than I can ever remember, and I don't know why. But I was thinking about this um, accident I'm speaking of. To be in the back seat of the car where you're not in control, and something like this happens. I'm hoping that the survivors don't dwell on that, and those memories go away soon, and those fears. But you don't think about it until it happens. You just don't. Your mind's not able to have those thoughts, or that doesn't entertain them, I guess. But yeah.
yeah, when you're young, you just don't think about it, and then I don't like to fly either. I can't stand it. I just can't. Ugh. Like when I used to go on deployments, I would just take a bunch of sleeping pills, so I just pass out on that little tray in front of me, because I was flying over that ocean. Ugh, this nightmare.
Well, mine used to be that thought about here I am. I don't have any control. We're over the water, and if we hit, which is likelihood is you're not going to survive anyway. So there's that piece. I even went so far in a weird time in my life to consider about how I might, if I knew we were going down, how I might try to quickly take my own life, which is, that's a weird thing to say out loud, but it's the honest truth. I was almost as fearful of not being able to deal with the going down period. I don't know why I'm talking about that. So here's the other thing though, but I'm fine with flying now. That doesn't bother me. But what could have bothered me recently is that both flights going to and from Florida, which we flew, there was not an empty seat. So then I had that moment where I felt like I could be claustrophobic. You think if I can't get out of here, or if I wanted to get out of here, I couldn't. And that doesn't plague me very often, but I had those moments, but they went away shortly. So it was fine. It was a pretty good flight, but our mind is crazy.
Yeah, it is. Well, you don't want to, I always, you just never know. Same thing like you said with, I have to drive. I don't want to fall asleep and wake up dead. So I got to drive. Got to be in control. Although I'll tell you, on that ride back from the zoo to home, I fell asleep. Nicole was like, "Oh God, what the fuck?" And I was like, "Oh, holy hell, I was asleep." So if she wasn't there, I'd be curtains. I'm an organ donor, so somebody would have got the hookup, but I'd have been punching out. Yeah, it's scary. Travel is scary all the time. Any of them you can walk away from is a good one.
You don't want to ever be fearful of travel because it's the one. I mean, it's a necessity if you want to see things and be a part of things and visit family. I mean, so it's definitely like I know that when I geared up for this trip, and we talked a little bit about it before I left, and you had just been back from some trips visiting family. There's a lot of gear up and preparation that gets, a lot of nervous energy before you get there. Then you get there, you have to kind of decompress, and then you've got X amount of time to really enjoy yourself. And then at least 2 days before we had to leave, if I heard Seth say, "Well, Sunday's the day, Sunday's the day," he said it 10 times. And I thought, and I asked him to stop only because then it became his focus. And that's just how we're wired, I mean, not everyone, but I think a lot of people that take care of others and are, responsible people, you have pretty regular worries and as you prepare to do things. And I don't want to be that person that's afraid to travel or to overcome by all of the anxiety of preparing to travel. Which I could see that happening. Anyway, it was nice to see Aunt Pam and Doug, though. I know we did the Zoom call and we were hoping that we could do a broadcast, but we just couldn't make it happen. And Tracy came and we had a really good visit. And Steve and Kimberly and of course Leanne's chili was like top notch.
Oh man.
In fact, I ate it like 3 days later, like for the consecutive 3 days after. And man, it was so good. She even gave us, your mom always goes over and above. So you walk in, there's like a total of maybe 8 or 9 people, and it looks like she's feeding 30. So, and then people felt compelled to bring things. And so there was like a whole table. I mean, at least a half a table. There were pumpkin rolls, pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, pumpkin pie. So everything was pumpkin. And so she's naturally giving everything away as we leave. It's like, oh my God. But she had a big crock pot of hot dogs. And what I was going to say was she even had an extra nacho cheese jar that was unopened that she just gave to us.
Did she put noodles in it?
Of course. That is the only way.
Indiana and a little bit of a spillover into Cincinnati are about the only places that are pro noodle when it comes to chili, and I think that's it was commonplace to even get chili spaghetti in a lot of restaurants in Indiana, and then over there it's a staple in Cincinnati. I think it's their known dish over there. It's chili spaghetti or chili mac.
I love it. And really after a couple of days when it's even less watery, I like that consistency that's almost, yeah, it's like a goulash kind of.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is, and you can even sometimes I won't even get the spoon dirty. I'll just devour it with those round tortilla chips.
Yeah, she had a couple of different, she had the scooper kind and one other just regular tortilla. Oh yeah, and she had unopened chip bags. She's like, take these. Now Grandma will eat these. We won't eat these. So she pretty much hooked us up for the next 3 days.
Yeah, that's awesome. That chili is good, real good. Yep. Well, we're rounding the bend here. We're getting towards the end of another episode. I'm glad we were able to kind of get back in the saddle this week. A month just about slipped us by, and I wish I was a '90s rapper, because then we could hit them with a cheesy '90s rap ballad about how we were gone and now we're back. But I don't know any of them or how to. I was trying to think, because all the rappers, none of them rappers fucking went nowhere, but every 3 months they'd sing a song how they're back. Hell, you ain't gone nowhere. But every lyric was like about making like this grand return, I guess that was their go-to. But
That's funny.
But yeah, I did find something kind of neat here real quick before we put a kibosh on this masterpiece. I found our old list of notes that we came up with for some different show ideas. Just kind of some funny stuff since we're on our 11th episode plus the pilot. I got stuff written down here: ribbon cutting in small towns, gazing balls, wagon wheels, and home interiors, Walmart stories, fake sponsors, rummage sales, we hit that one, pork chop dinners, fish fries, we did bowling alleys, origins of names, cassette tape recorders, diaper genie. We're going to have to hit that diaper genie up next time.
Okay, that sounds good.
That'd be a killer. And like some story. I have to get Mom and Dad back on here sometime to talk about them sketchy stories at the cabin about the Hornet attack and the gypsy lady that lived down by the river, and she just listened to Conway Twitty all the time.
There's your teaser. Yeah, we'll have to mention it.
What's that song, Conway? It's been a long time. You're just as lovely as you used to be. That radiating through the woods. No wonder I didn't see Sasquatch chased him away. Or maybe distracted him. I don't know. But yeah, I just found that list from a few months ago when we started this project. So maybe we'll hit some of those up. But in closing, we're on every damn thing. We're on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Our podcasts are on all the major podcast platforms: iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music. Gosh, there's probably some other ones I'm not even thinking of, but those are like the main three. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. There's several. I just hit up our YouTube channel. There's a lot of information there. We're on Facebook. Let's see. It's been so long. I always like to give a shout out to the veterans. Support our veterans. Take care of your mental health. We're rolling into that holiday season. If you're like me, you're just kind of like the holidays, but yeah, there's some good stuff here and there. Like the food's good, and there's always good football on. let's see, autism awareness. My son has autism. Any kind of knowledge we could pass on to each other about autism or autism inclusion. I'd like to give a thanks to all the folks that work with my son on a daily basis, the school system, his therapist, anybody that's involved in any kind of a positive way. When I take him to therapy, just seeing all those people work with all those kiddos, it's just like, it's just amazing. It's just a bunch of angels in there. It's really something neat. A really good place to be. Um, for a song, been listening to a lot of music over the month. Let's go with I like the food and I like the man. Let's go with Meatloaf. He makes heavy guys. He makes fat sexy with his little hanky and his Napoleon shirts he'd wear with the frillies. Let's say 2 out of 3 ain't bad by Meatloaf.
All right, so that's a good one. In fact, I remember your mom playing that album at the house. Your mom was always into Meatloaf, or had at least that one particular album. So I'll just give a shout out to the Colts or the NFL initiative on crucial catch, and encourage everyone to get early screenings if it's your time to if you're of the age where you need to get colon screenings, or women breast exams. Please, keep those up. A lot of us have kind of fallen off the wagon when it comes to preventative care. So make sure you take care of yourself in that way, and take those recommendations. I also wanted to thank the American Cancer Society and the opportunity to tell our stories in a variety of ways. And so looking forward to doing that. Just wanted to give a shout out to, parents who are considering their children be vaccinated for COVID. I understand that next week recommendations are coming out from the FDA for 5 years old and up. So do your research, ask the right questions, find your trusted sources of information, and let's move out of the era of COVID. As Mayor de Blasio said this morning, we've got the tools to get out of this thing completely, so let's do it. The song that I'll mention, since you mentioned 90s rap groups, it just made me automatically think of Belle Biv DeVoe. And I think they were a conglomeration of New Edition guys and whatnot. I think they sang the song Poison. Poison. So that's my best offering for that. So, and anything Beastie Boys, I think, is definitely a good listen. So that's all I have.
All right, everybody. Thanks for letting us back into your world for a little bit. I hope you guys listened to this, forgot about some shit, laughed a little bit, and had a good time. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again.